Stormworks Color, my favorite microcontroller, and my new distraction.
Let's get started. So you may recognize this microcontroller. It is Sawyer News by Mr. Lennon, and it was released in January. And I love this thing. It was something I wanted to do with a dedicated server, was have a radio station and a news station. Unfortunately, the radio station crashes all the time, so I can't do that. But what I wanted to go ahead and revisit after my friend wrote me the interface for creating monitor UIs and stuff like that, is I wanted to go back and see if I could make something like this for the server, but make it a little bit more dynamic. So I would be able to put news in here for what's going on in the Stormworks community. If it's videos or if it's updates or something changed on the server, I want to do it. See that little ticker tape at the bottom? I want to do something like that, but even the board to the left of his head right there, if I could do something there. So I've been experimenting with this, but first I want to show you a few things that are making this easier to do than it was before. And Mr. Lennon, boy, he went through some stuff to get this done, because this is a lot of frames of animation. And so I reached out to him to see if I could get some of the pictures and use in my version that I'm building for the server. And he said, yes, so very cool. Thank you, Mr. Lennon. And he will be co-credited on whatever I build. I don't even know what I'm building, but whatever it is, he will be co-credited. So now before I get distracted, I want to go ahead and show you the tools. All right, let's hop over to the browser. So this is the interface that my friend put together for me last weekend. He doesn't have a lot of time, but he put aside a few hours to go ahead and write this for me. And it's not feature complete, but it is usable. I'm going to show you how I'm using it with the kind of the Sawyer, not Sawyer News, but KSR News that is based on Sawyer News. But before that, I want to tell you how I was doing it in case you don't know. Let's go back to Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop, and what I used to do before I had the interface is I would take my guides and I would put it on that line, and I would put it on that line, and then I would use the coordinates up here. If I zoom in, you can see them better. I would use the coordinates right here, number 4 and number 3, to go ahead and go back into Stormworks and write Lua, create rectangle or create line at 4, 3, and then end at 7, 3, because you have to go one over on the line. And I would go back and I would do the whole interface like that, and sometimes I would make mistakes. And this took me hours to actually transfer from Photoshop into Stormworks. So what the new interface does, if we switch back, is it allows us to load an image. It also allows us to put the screen size. It doesn't do the biggest one because he didn't put any zoom controls in here. So if I go all the way to 5.3, it takes up the whole screen. So 5.9 is not here, but who needs 5.9? But what we do is, let's say that we have, I guess, the 3.2 radio, and we're going to load that image, which is my BC348. All right, so here is the BC348 image. And what's cool about this is I can pick my color and say I want the green right there. Then I can click off. And then what I can do is I can start drawing my interface. Just like this. And I can do, I can do Control Z to delete my mistake. And then I can go in here and just draw my points. And then draw this one. And draw this one. And draw that one. Draw that one. And that one. Actually, I'm doing it a little too fast. I don't need that many points. But what it does is it creates code over here on the right side that you see. The SC is the color, the DL is the draw line, and it has the coordinates. Then you hit Control Copy, and then we would go into Stormworks. Let's go into Stormworks, and I'm just going to grab a Lua block to show you. So now that we have this pasted here, you'll notice we have the SC and the DL, which doesn't mean a thing in Stormworks yet. But what I do have is kind of a shorthand that someone suggested that I could do to save on character limits. So if I put these vars up here, input.getNumber, I have SC screen.setColor, and then that will translate down here in all these DLs. Instead of writing screen draw lines, it will just do DL, 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 and we have our coordinates. So that is it. Very cool, right? So I could do this whole interface in probably like 15 minutes maybe. depending. I may have to break it up depending on how many of these lines I have. But you may be wondering, why don't I use the Pony Lua to image converter? And I will have to go back and tell you why. So let's jump into the F14. So where this all started with the draw lines and all that good stuff was with the F14 when I was building it. Let's jump inside here. I think we need to put on the brakes because I think it's moving. So the F14 was the first thing that I really used a lot of monitors and had to draw screens. And so all of these crazy lines, the little guy, all this stuff was created by Photoshop, by transferring Photoshop coordinates back to Stormworks and then coding in the draw lines where they should be based on the Photoshop coordinates. But originally I was starting off with the fluffy pony to like do the Rio and stuff like that. And what happened, and you're not going to be able to see it because I think I'm in high resolution, is when I looked at the debug, what I found is that my Lua was going up to like 20 milliseconds. So just drawing the screen here would take 20 milliseconds, which means, of course, if we jumped out, we would get moon gravity. See, I'm not in moon gravity, which is really nice. But when I had used the Fluffy Pony image to Lua, it was creating so much lag because the way it works, and let's go over there really quick. The way it works, oh, sorry, you'll notice that Fluffy Pony is no longer in the community, and that is thanks to the Stormworks devs in some way that I'm not positive, but yeah, the devs have forced quite a few people out that were doing a lot of interesting things, unfortunately. But Fluffy Pony is the maker of an IDE. He is also, is also the creator of these different things, such as the image to Lua, the SVG to triangles, and he's also got the IDE, of course, for creating Lua scripts. If we look at the image to Lua, and let's say we open up, oh, here's this goodbye thing again. Let's open up the BC. So what happens when you use the image converter? You load up your image, and you can put a color depth, and I've tried it so many ways. Lower colors, more colors, less colors, zero colors, whatever. It creates this Lua code. Now if we come down here, we can see all this code that is created. So what it does is it kind of breaks up the image into tables and the colors in the tables, and then when it runs a function, and then it draws out and inserts all the colors and all that good stuff to create the image in Stormworks. Unfortunately, this seems to be very slow in Lua. Maybe it's the function, I don't know. But what I found is if I did the screen.draw and the screen.rectangle and so on, and I just did it directly in the editor, it was very quick. So what I had my friend do was, of course, create this so that I could draw using lines, points, circle, rectangle, and rectangle field, and then it outputs basically the native screen draws for Stormworks. So yeah. So before I show you what I'm working on, you've probably ran into this problem when you're making your interfaces for the Stormworks monitors, that the colors are never quite right. They're usually lighter or blown out. And I think it even applies to paints. I haven't tested this yet. But for the interface, everything that I was drawing was coming out much lighter, much washed out. So I did a search online and I found this guide by XLjedi, and he had some help from Grumpy Old Man, and they figured out how to adjust the Stormworks Lua colors, the RGB, so that they match. So if we look right about here, you see this light blue. He was trying to do this blue here, and this light blue came out. So what he figured out was that there is a kind of a gamma curve that Stormworks is doing on the monitors, almost like a real monitor, I guess, or some kind of 3D shader or something. I wasn't quite sure. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I read it late at night, so I didn't quite grasp. But the idea is that there is a gamma curve, and so he figured out what the curve was, him and Grumpy Old Man, and they went ahead and made a little function, which is down here and in the description below for you to use, so you don't have to type it out. And what it does, this is the bigger one. You might want to read this article if you want to use the bigger one. It actually adjusts the alpha, but the one I'm using is the simple one. You can see the colors here now are pretty much matching. Very cool. and then he's got the dark blue and the dark orange. Okay, so here is a simplified version, and you can find it in the description below so that you can use it for your own Lua. But I basically just copy this. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it adjusts the gamma curve. It doesn't touch the alpha. If you use the one above, it tweaks the alpha so the colors are a little bit more precise. But this was good enough for what I needed. And so I'm going to link to this article if you want to read it, and I'm going to have the Lua in my description. But what I want to do now is go ahead and show you what it looks like. So here is my early test version. You can see that the colors are blown out. So I think he was supposed to have almost like black hair, dark brown hair. I'm not positive. And then his skin doesn't really show up. And his tie is light and the desk is really bright. So what I did is after I found that article, I went ahead and modified the code to actually add the function into every color. So once that function is added, you get this. You can see the colors are dark, they're crisp. I've got maybe the wrong colors because I drew this and I was trying to guess how dark to go, so I might have to come back and adjust this for sure. But what it shows you is the color correction with that code is wonderful. It fixes everything. You can see that I actually did get distracted directly from the BC radio and just started building this. Yeah. Alright, so let me go ahead and restart this and I'll show you the current state of this project. Alright, let's run over there real quick before it finishes. So what I'm figuring out right now is the animation. So I've got his head moving and got little things like that going on, which is very cool. The little features vote is going up. And then after a certain time, this slide will change to the next one. I think it's like 25 seconds currently it's set to. I'm not counting. Oh, there we go. And this is from actually Mr. Lennon's graphics, which is fire and extinguisher fire, and then it's going to end. This is just a test because what I'm doing is figuring out how to animate the different elements within Stormworks without doing frame by frame animation. So as you can see right there, his head is just bobbing up and down, and that's just using a timer to randomly decide when to pop his head up and down. And then for the other elements like the voting, it's using another ticker that is just kind of animating that manually. I'm not actually doing that automated. So I am kind of going through each of these and figuring out how I can add animation to things without fully having to manually animate everything, if that makes any sense. You know, I just want frames that have some kind of movement to them. And then what I am working on that's exciting is, you see this text right there? Let me show you this. What I wanted to do was bring this onto the dedicated server, and I wanted to go ahead and broadcast. You can have my broadcasting antennas, and click on this. And what I want to do was add channels of news so that, let's say there's a Stormworks update. We could add this. Add new windows. And if I go ahead and hit escape, we'll go ahead and we'll see that Stormworks has an update. Adds new windows. So what I'm doing as well, I don't have it here, but I'm also testing adding text onto these brown frames here. Also, you might notice that this is the television that's made for. I'm trying to make it so that it will kind of work on the bigger screens. And what I might do is add like additional information that you can't see on this screen that might be like, you know, weather like all the time versus like a weather lady that will pop up. Or something like that. I don't know. Let me know if you have any ideas what I could put down here that will be hidden on the smaller TV. But anyways, what I want to do is add some text to this and make it be able to be editable on the chip. So I think that's it for right now. I've got some ideas. I could show you what the chip looks like just to give you an idea what I'm working with. So if we go into the chip, it looks like this, which isn't too bad. So if you look at this, I'm running the different Luas here, which are going to be the different slides. Okay, each one of these is basically going to be a slide of information, of news. A news slide, I guess, would be good, and or an advertisement. And then once we come over here, we can go ahead and we'll get into like the background news board, and then this would be the newsman, and all of this stuff is all of his, you know, his head, his eyes, and all that stuff. And there's some code over here that will animate his head going up and down. Maybe his eyebrows could move, depending on the news story. So I might send in some kind of number that says, be angry about this news story, like, you know, no new windows, or something like that. And then finally back here we have the desk, and then it moves out. And then of course these are property of ours. So what I would like to do in the future that I haven't done yet, if we just kind of move this out of the way, this is my background, this is my newsman, and this is my desk. So what I could do, and probably wouldn't do it exactly like this, but I could create another one of these, run this through here, and then run this through here. And what I would do is change this to a news. Let's change this to a news woman. And then I would have all my graphics for my newswoman here. And so maybe she comes on in the nighttime. So based on the Stormworks time, she would come in at night, and then this would be switched with some Lua code from this one to this one, and then we would get a totally different news person at night. That's something I wanted to work on. I also thought about trying to get data in here from the server script. So if you're running a mission, you could go ahead and then you could put the news of the mission that it was fired inside of the television. But I talked to Killer and he was like, yeah, good luck with that. So that won't happen. But we will have, you know, semi-dynamic or at least editable news updates that we can do on the server. Or if you're putting this on your own creation, you can update to whatever you like with the news. So just to quickly compare this, let's look at this again. So you can see, oops, not the BC, but let's look at this again. And I want to show you this. Okay, this is what my current state is. And let me show you Sawyer News, because it is impressive that he has this working. All right, watch this. Okay, the chip looks small, but when we open this up, look at this. Look at this. I would not even know where to begin to update this or edit this, but this is what Mr. Lennon did, which is an amazing accomplishment to get this working and not lose your mind. So very cool, very inspiring to be able to get this news to work and animated. So looking forward to seeing what kind of response time I get as far as loading and Lua lag based on what I know. Again, the native draw line features instead of using a function or a table should be super fast. And since I'm not doing frame by frame animation, which means frame by frame animation would be, let me show you this real quick. Let's go back to Photoshop so you know what I'm talking about. So if we open up Mr. Lennon's GIF here, and he basically has all of his animations in here. So what he did is he used the Pony exporter to go ahead and create this frame. Then he uploaded this frame, then he uploaded this frame, uploaded this frame, uploaded this frame, and so on, and did a frame by frame animation. So all of these were imported into the Pony converter, and then what he did is he moved that code into what you saw there, which was a bunch of Lua scripts and probably video switchers to create the different frames. Really complicated stuff to do in Stormworks when you can't directly like access a image on a hard drive. So if you could like package these on a hard drive and then have your Lua script just load these like one after another, you could easily create lots of frame by frame animations that had like great motions. You know, you could have 24 frames per second or something like that. But instead, he imported these one by one, and you know, he gets like 3 frames per second or something like that. So the overhead in Stormworks really slows the Lua down. And so this is probably not the best way. So what I am trying to do, or attempting to do, is again, go in here and have elements move. Maybe not in a detailed way, because I don't know how much time I want to spend like animating movement, but just have some kind of motion so that maybe the ship will sail by, the plane will sail by, and maybe there's just a little bit of smoke trail animation, not as detailed. And just kind of, you know, bring to life the television set, you know, without creating too much impact on the game with the Lua running in the background to animate stuff and change frames. So we will see what happens. This could, be a disaster, but it's something that got me distracted after the tool was built. And again, let's go back to the tool. So now that we're back in the tool, the reason I haven't released any URL for this right now is it only works locally. So it's working off my local hard drive to, find an image and load it. And then, it's just not available online yet because there's no way to load an image online. So I'm going to see if I can try to get an online version for you guys to use if you're interested. So let me show you the modded version. So if I come over here to the modded version, you can see right away that I've kind of lightened the grid. So I know enough to be dangerous to tweak the JavaScript. And so it's lightened. And I also added, if we go and add, let's see here. Let's just add a rectangle right there to right there. You will see that I added this code right here, which is a G, which is correcting the gamma on the colors. So it just adds that for me. So when I copy and paste this into the Lua block, it automatically has the function added. So I can just go ahead and copy paste. And when I run it, it will adjust the gamma and I'll get colors very, very similar to the ones you see on screen. Again, this lets me just kind of, grab a color and then, draw it up. You can draw a lot of things. If you're interested in using this tool, you can go ahead and go to my Discord and ping me if it's something that you want to work with on a project or something. But this is not ready. It's not online. It's not available to use online. So it's not very valuable right now. And there's a good possibility that I'll have him add some new features. And so I don't want to be sending out the file a lot because it will be outdated pretty quickly. And yeah. So I think that's it. I'm going to link to this guide on the Gamma Fix by XLjedi. And also in the description, you will find this code ready for your use. All right, so I think that's it for today. I'll be doing vlog posts on this one, I guess, too. So we have the BC that we have to release is pretty much done, I think. There might be like a light bug where it doesn't brighten up, but I think I'm going to redo the interface with the gamma colors. But anyways, I will be doing a vlog post on that, or a release, and I will be doing a vlog post on this, updates on how far I'm getting with the frame-by-frame animation, and any other things that I come up with. Feel free to make any suggestions. I may not be able to do them, but I will be able to read them, so that's cool. So anyways, that's it for today. If you have done so already, hit the bell so it goes ding dong when I upload a new video. And if you have done so already, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time.